Hi everyone, welcome to day, I don't even know, 40 of the 2020 pandemic. So what we have today is another video that goes along with the readings and the website stuff, the questions, so you sort of keep up with that. Today I want to talk to you about a guy named Constantine, who I introduced you to at the end of the last video. But we need to start, going back to a little bit about. We talked about this guy named Diocletian and how Diocletian splits the empire in 285 CE. But it's 50 years later that we see this other guy, Constantine, comes back up, and he invades from the west, invades the eastern side, takes over the entire empire, and stays in the east and makes the capital in the eastern side. So it's not, the capital's not in Rome, the capital's in Nicomedia. And Nicomedia is a little place just to the east, maybe 100 kilometers, I think, east of present-day Istanbul in Turkey. So that's where he makes his capital. While he's there, though, he begins to build a brand new capital in where present-day Istanbul is, still in Turkey. And this he names after himself. He calls it Constantinople. So it was originally a little town called Byzantium, and he transforms this into Constantinople. And then he goes about getting the people underneath him to find all the coolest stuff in the entire empire, like all the way. So like Spain and France and Rome, and like statues and artwork and anything like that, and bring it all back to Constantinople. So Constantinople becomes this really cool, beautiful place, maybe the most beautiful city in the world at the time. And Rome, as a power, declines, and Constantinople rises. And the reason he left it, he created it in the east, was because that's where most of the enemies were. That's where most of the wealth was. So it makes sense, actually, that he would have used Constantinople as the capital of the empire. So why are we focusing so much on Constantine? Like, what's the big deal about Constantine? Well, Constantine is a central figure, really, for the next 1,500 years, because he is the guy that sort of is the beginning of the movement toward the rise of the Christian church. Remember, Christianity had been outlawed, and the Christians had been persecuted under Nero, under a whole bunch of different emperors. So the idea that Christianity would become some big deal was really not much of a thought. But he actually is the first Christian emperor. He doesn't make Christianity the state religion, but what he does is he allows Christianity to become an important thing. And the result of that is, the history of England and France and Spain is so intricately tied to the rise of Christianity that we can't just dismiss Christianity as like just some outside thing, because it's really the one constant thing that is involved with kings and queens and history and death and everything, right? So we can't just like dismiss Christianity, because it's such a big piece. And so that's where I guess I want to start, is kind of talking about, not necessarily about Constantine the guy, but some of the stuff that he does in that early time period that sort of moves Christianity from this sort of nothing or relatively insignificant thought process into ultimately the state religion of Rome. Like, what a big change that is, right? So we move from Constantine and with the Edict of Milan, and then we move into Emperor Theodosius, right, with the Edict of Theodosius, strangely, where Christianity becomes the state religion of Rome. And from there, we see Rome in the west decline, but Christianity rise. And that sets us forward historically for the next 1,500 years. That's where we have to move.